Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Success is not going to shield you from anything, especially the impact of your out-of-control sexual behavior. Listen, if success insulated any man that ever existed from his private secret weaknesses, we would not have a history that was filled with all these powerful collapses. Almost every powerful man, every great man that was taken down as a result of a private weakness. Consistently across every industry, every income level, every level of public visible achievement, men are collapsing and their empires, or what they're even trying to build, are dying in the seed because of their private weakness. Success is never going to eliminate your weaknesses. Success is only going to magnify your weaknesses. Here's what, just for those of you who might be on the journey to success, and those of you who might feel that perhaps you've arrived, which is very dangerous, I'll just tell you what resources do, from somebody who's had nothing to somebody who's built something and is still in the process of doing so. Money, assets, certain networks, certain people, what they did is all those resources, they remove friction that I used to have in my life. And the access that I gained to certain things, it increased the options that I had. But it also comes with a pressure that I've talked about recently. The pressure increases the need for relief. When you become successful, you're going to have access to resources, you're going to have access to more options, but you're also going to have pressure that comes with those things. Pressure always needs a healthy escape or some sort of escape. That relief often comes from the quickest available thing. Whatever that thing is for you, for some it's alcohol, for some it's pornography, for some it is OnlyFans, for some it is some drug or some substance, that becomes your habit. And the habit that you have is going to create a very specific type of identity issue that a high-achieving man is horrible at acknowledging. You do not acknowledge that because it contradicts the self-image that you have built. And let's say for the men in our intensive program, those are the high-achieving men that I have direct access to. It is a constant battle to be able to acknowledge this. Here's what happens psychologically. Here's where it breaks down when you're a high achiever and you don't want to name it, okay? When your private behavior consistently contradicts your public persona, then you're going to experience what is known as cognitive dissonance, where who you are publicly or who you claim to be does not match who you are internally. So you begin to manage it. Sometimes you will compartmentalize it. You will develop these very sophisticated internal systems for, you want to make sure that those two versions of you never meet internally. The porn guy and the successful guy, they just cannot meet. They cannot hang out. So you need to create all this internal labyrinth within you to avoid that happening. And you become so good at this that management begins to feel normal. But what you don't realize is that compartmentalization is consuming a lot of bandwidth. If you're a guy who's on the way to success, you need all the fucking bandwidth that you can get. But you're wasting all that bandwidth busy trying to keep two parts of yourself from meeting. So all this great cognitive bandwidth that could be used to improve your life is being spent maintaining that separation between who you are publicly and who you are supposed to be in private. The bandwidth is internal capital. It's sometimes the only fucking capital that you have, bro. And you're wasting it, you're spending it on just maintaining this separation every single day. I actually encourage you to calculate what you are not building with it. But anyway, that's not what this is about. I'm here to talk about what is going to change when you've stopped making this stupid ass compromise in your life. The cognitive load that you're feeling, because you're just carrying a lot. It feels like a lot because you have this itty bitty little bit of bandwidth left because you've spent so much time bullshitting yourself. Immediately, your cognitive capacity increases. You stop feeling like you're carrying a very heavy load. And this is not going to happen gradually, but you are going to notice it. And the reason why I don't say, oh, it's going to happen gradually or not, is because ethically speaking, I cannot say that. Everybody rewires in a different way. For some people, it will be fast. For others, it will be gradual. But for everybody, you're going to fucking notice it when you are rebooting. And you're paying a cost to maintain that separation. It's almost as if there's a fee you have to pay your brain, where you tell your brain, hey, man, I don't want the internal part of me that watches porn to meet the part of me that's successful. And I don't want to do the work to deal with the part that watches porn because I like porn, but I also like being successful. And your brain says, that's cool, bro, but there's a cost. It's like a machine. You're like, are you willing to pay this cost? And that cost disappears because now you're not paying a fucking maintenance fee to keep two parts of yourself separate. And then you can make decisions with speed. The speed of making decisions increases because that hesitation that came from a man who didn't trust himself is no longer there. You stop being emotionally reactive because the stress that is generated from that internal contradiction is no longer being generated. You're not only paying a fee for maintenance, you're also paying interest in the form of stress. And then your confidence strengthens. You're no longer taking that confidence hit. That's another thing you're paying. Because now, when you go back into, let's say, if your brain, your consciousness or your self-image had an archive, and you were to go back and visit the archive, let me remember the type of man I am. Your archive is going to say that you are a man who says he does what he says he's going to do. So you don't feel emotional anymore. You feel integrated. By integrated, I simply mean you feel integrated as in you are whole with your values. You feel more masculine. When your identity is split between the guy who watches porn and the successful guy, there is going to be almost like a energy that is leaking out of you all the time. And I'm not trying to get woo about it. I mean that you will see an energy leak on every metric that you track in your life, on your energy during the day, like how much energy you have to work, your capacity for work. You're going to see it in your decision-making ability. You're going to see it in your intimacy. You're going to see it in your ability to be present with people. You're going to see it in your ability to keep track of important things in your life. It shows up only in the gap between your current performance and what is possible in the future. So you're not even growing. You're just leaking this stuff while it's happening. Man, it's a horrible way to live in the way I'm describing it. Now, when your identity becomes integrated, your energy not only gets back to where it was, but it compounds. All your decisions are made from an internal state. Each decision you make reinforces the next one because you're certain of yourself. It doesn't matter how the decision turns out. You never have to second guess yourself because every part of yourself believes in you and your identity. So your confidence becomes self-generating. It becomes this thing that never ends. Instead of constantly needing to be maintained and you need to like coddle it and you need to check in, all these bullshit, all of that stops. So now you have all this bandwidth that is freed because you've closed the gap. I hope this is making sense to you guys. Like I write these things out and I hope that when I speak to them in a podcast, these are things that I work on directly with clients. These are things I observe. These are things that are happening in the lives of men right now who are winning. So I really hope that it's making sense. Most men are not going to do the work. And it isn't because you can't do the work. It's unfortunately because you can still perform when those two parts of you are separated. And if you can still perform while those two parts of you are separated, it feels like evidence that the separation doesn't matter. But it does matter. The cost is in a currency that doesn't show up until you experience what working without it feels like. So the question, brother, is not whether you are succeeding or not. The question is, how much more dangerous would you be? How much more successful would you be without that internal drag that is happening because those two parts of you are separated? The work that closes that gap is called rebooting. What you want on the other side of that, you have to go through the rebooting process to actually get that. And that's what we help you to do. So there's a link in the description below to have a real human conversation. Don't run away from it about what is actually going on with you internally. I'd love to see you on the other side.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.